But we have another company on our radar. Techno Electric is the one that we're talking about, where the top line growth has been a whopping 75%, but the margins have crunched down to 11 versus 22%. Mr. Gupta, the MD of the company, joins in on the line from New Delhi to take us through the numbers. Mr. Gupta, thank you very much for taking the time out. While your stock is in fact reacting positively to that top line growth as well as the bottom line growth, your margins came down to 12 versus 22%. Can you tell us what resulted in the margin crunch and whether this was just a one-off and maybe it would recover in coming quarters?
Yeah, it is just one-off and it is only to this quarter. Basically, there are two impacts. One is a hike in service tax in this quarter, by 2% by Government of India. And second is the provision for forex loss, MTM, as well as the loss already paid out. Because of the service tax burden and the burden of the forex, it is almost 2%. There is a decline in the EBITDA as apparently visible. But our top line and PAT, if you see, they are intact, They are pro rata to the growth.
Okay. Mr. Gupta, hi, good morning. So in that case, can we assume that in the next financial year, the revenue growth and profit growth would be in similar nature, and can you maintain this kind of run rate?
Absolutely, absolutely. But, I must share with you, a bit of a tweaking do happen depending on the mix of the projects executed in that particular quarter. But when you look, actually, EBITDA, one should look in our kind of industry on annual basis and not on quarter after quarter. But if you go on annual basis, it will be detailed. But in between the quarter, depending on the mix of the jobs executed, and also the burden of these taxes and forex, sometimes some tweaking can happen. But by and large, it will be on track.
Okay. How is business from Power Grid doing at this point?
Excellent. By and our almost 50% of business is from Power Grid at the moment as a very book. There is a change of guard, as we all know, in Power Grid. And CapEx in the coming year is expected to be more than the previous year by about 25-30%. So we are all seeing a good growth in the transmission segment because we all know that India is more or less self-sufficient in power generation, but for transmission bottlenecks. We need to, transmit more power where we can produce more power, cheap power, so that all regions are equally compensated on power availability. So next 3-4 years, I see good market for transmission assets coming up, both in private as well as in government utilities.
Okay, fair enough. So we leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in. Not much in terms of volumes, but nonetheless, 75% top line growth is what they've reported this quarter.